He grew up in a tiny neighborhood in the Philippines where music floated through the air the same way sunlight slipped between tin roof houses. Life was simple, sometimes hard, but always filled with sound. Neighbors blasting old karaoke hits, vendors shouting in the streets, tricycles roaring past. But the sound that shaped him most came from his father's old record player. Every evening, just before dinner, his father played Elvis Presley songs. At first, he didn't understand why his father loved them so much, but soon he felt the pull, the deep voice, the soul, the emotion that Elvis carried in every word. He was only a kid, but something inside him awakened the first time he tried copying that sound. His voice, tiny and young, didn't match his age. It had a richness, a surprising depth that made his father pause with shock. Neighbors began stopping by, smiling as they listened to him sing from behind their thin bamboo door. Some would say, "Close your eyes, it's like Elvis is right here in the Philippines." He didn't fully grasp what that meant, but he knew it felt good to make people smile. Soon, singing became his escape, his comfort, and his purpose. When other kids played outside, he practiced vocals, breathing, and even tiny Elvis-style moves he found on old TV clips. But as he got older, reality got tougher. His family struggled with money. Opportunities were rare, and dreams often faded under the weight of survival. But he refused to let go of singing. He performed at birthdays, small village gatherings, even local markets, anywhere people would listen. Every time he earned a little money, he saved it, placing each coin into a small tin box he labeled, America. It felt impossible, almost like a childish wish, but he believed deep down that one day he could bring his voice to a stage big enough to change everything. Years passed, and he never stopped dreaming. His mother prayed for him every night, asking God to guide him, to protect him, to open doors no one else could. His father encouraged him even when life felt too heavy. And then one day, the chance he had imagined since childhood finally appeared: auditions for America's Got Talent. Family, neighbors, and even strangers pitched in to help him. A local friend paid for passport documents, someone else helped with travel advice, and the community gathered to support him the way only Filipinos truly know how. At last, the day came when he boarded a plane to the United States, his first time leaving his country, his first time flying, his first time stepping into the world he had only seen in videos. When he landed in America, everything felt unreal. The airport was gigantic, the lights brighter, the sounds louder, the people faster. He felt small but determined. He kept a hand on his backpack the whole time, whispering a quiet prayer that all of this would be worth it. He traveled to the AGT venue on a cheap shuttle bus, staring out the window like a child discovering a new universe. The skyscrapers towered above him, and he imagined his voice echoing off those walls one day. At the registration area, he saw contestants from different ages, countries, and backgrounds. Some were dancers practicing, others tuning guitars, some warming their voices. For a moment, insecurity crept in. Who was he, a shy Filipino guy with thrift store clothes, compared to all these polished performers? But then he remembered his parents' faces, his neighborhood cheering him on, the little tin coin box labeled, America, and every moment he spent singing Elvis in his small home. He straightened his shoulders and took a deep breath. He wasn't here to compete with anyone. He was here to honor his journey, his family, and the voice God gave him. When they finally called his name, he walked toward the audition stage with trembling hands but a brave heart, ready to turn his lifelong dream into something real. Here is. The moment he stepped onto the AGT stage, the world seemed to freeze around him. The bright lights felt hotter than the Philippine sun, and the crowd stretched into darkness like an ocean of eyes waiting to judge him. His hands trembled slightly, but he kept a gentle smile on his face. Simon raised one eyebrow, studying him with that famous mix of curiosity and skepticism. The judges didn't know his story. They didn't know about the small tin house, the nights he practiced with a broken speaker, or the years he spent saving every coin just to stand here. All they saw was a quiet Filipino guy with a shy voice and a simple outfit. When Heidi asked what he was going to sing, he softly answered, a song from Elvis Presley, and the crowd murmured, wondering what this young man could possibly do with such a legendary name. The music began, slow at first, and he took a deep breath. Then his voice hit the first note, deep, rich, and shockingly close to Elvis. The entire audience reacted instantly. People sat up, turned their heads, leaned forward, jaws dropping. His tone filled the theater like a wave, powerful but controlled, full of soul. Simon, who had been leaning back casually, suddenly straightened in his seat, eyes widening. The man who rarely showed emotion looked shocked, impressed, almost speechless. As the performance grew stronger, the crowd exploded into applause even before the song ended. Phones lifted as people recorded, their cheers rising above the music. Every note he delivered carried the years of practice, the sacrifices, the dream he had chased across an ocean. When the song finished, the crowd erupted into a standing ovation. People shouted, clapped, whistled, and cheered like they had just witnessed something legendary. For a moment, he stood there frozen, overwhelmed, unable to believe that this was really happening. Sophia wiped a tear from her eye. Heidi placed her hand on her chest. Howie stared at him in disbelief. And Simon, perhaps the most surprising of all, leaned forward and said, "I did not expect that voice to come out of you." That was absolutely unbelievable. The words echoed in his heart like fireworks. He walked offstage shaking, emotional, stunned by the reaction. Backstage, crew members congratulated him, telling him his audition was one of the most unforgettable of the season. He called his mother immediately, and when she answered crying, he cried with her. They both knew a door had opened that they once only dreamed about. Within hours of the episode airing, everything changed again. His audition clip went viral, spreading across social media like wildfire. Millions of views poured in from around the world, America, Europe, the Philippines. Comment sections exploded with messages. "This guy brought Elvis back, he has the soul of the king, Pinoy talent never disappoints." Reaction channels made videos praising him. Filipino communities everywhere claimed him proudly, calling him the Pinoy Elvis. Even fans of the original Elvis weighed in, impressed by the authenticity and heart he brought to the performance. But going viral also brought pressure. He worried that people saw him only as an impersonator, not an artist with his own story. He wanted to honor Elvis but also prove that he carried something uniquely his. So for his next round, he began planning something different. He spent long nights in a small rented room practicing a slower, deeper Elvis ballad, something personal, emotional, meaningful. He added subtle changes, a hint of Filipino warmth, a softness in certain notes that came from his own experiences. During rehearsals, even the staff paused to listen. They said his voice didn't just echo Elvis, it carried a soul of its own. And as he prepared for this next performance, he promised himself that he wouldn't just sing like Elvis. He would sing like the Filipino who grew up dreaming of America, who fought for this moment, and who now had the world watching. Here is. When the night of the next AGT performance finally arrived, the air backstage felt heavier than before, almost electric. He stood quietly in the corner, hands clasped together, whispering a small prayer. The stage crew moved around him, cameras rolling, lights flashing, other contestants pacing nervously. But he stayed still, focusing on his breath, reminding himself why he had come so far. He wasn't just singing for the show, he was singing for his parents back home, for his community, for every Filipino kid who dreamed big on a small budget. When a staff member finally tapped his shoulder and said, "You're next," his heart thudded so loudly it felt like part of the music. The stage lights dimmed as he walked out. The audience hushed, sensing something special was coming. The judges watched him with curiosity and high expectations after his viral audition. Simon leaned forward with both hands folded. He could feel the pressure, they all expected greatness from him now. But instead of letting fear take over, he used it. He stood in the center of the stage, lifted his chin, and when the first soft notes of the Elvis ballad played, he gently closed his eyes. The moment he began to sing, the room seemed to exhale. His voice came out warm, emotional, trembling just enough to show vulnerability. It wasn't the rock and roll Elvis this time. It was the heartbroken Elvis, the human Elvis, delivered through the voice of a Filipino who carried his own share of pain and hope. People in the front rows wiped their eyes. Heidi placed her hand over her heart. Sophia blinked rapidly, touched by the rawness of his performance. Even Howie, usually analytical, looked moved. And then there was Simon, silent at first, watching him as though seeing a transformation unfold right in front of him. By the middle of the song, the theater was completely still, the kind of stillness that only happens when thousands of people are holding their breath at the same time. He stretched the high notes with gentle control, letting them float above the stage like a confession. When he finished the last line, he didn't move, almost afraid to break the magic. The silence lasted a heartbeat, then the audience erupted. People stood up, cheering so loudly the judges couldn't even speak. When they finally did, Simon was the first. His voice was softer than usual, almost emotional. He told him, "Tonight, you didn't just sing Elvis. Tonight, you sang with your own soul. That makes you truly special." Those words hit him deeper than any compliment he had ever received. Backstage, he broke down crying, overwhelmed that someone like Simon Cowell had seen more than an impersonation, he had seen him. For the rest of the night, he kept replaying the moment in his mind, whispering thanks for every blessing that had led him here. For the finale, he wanted to give the world everything he had. He chose a medley, starting with a powerful, upbeat Elvis number that filled the stage with energy, then shifting into a slow emotional section that showed his heart. The stage effects flashed around him, smoke rising, spotlights circling like a halo of dreams realized. The audience waved their phone lights, creating a sea of stars. He moved across the stage with confidence he never had before, combining Elvis' swagger with his own gentle style. It was the performance of his life. When the last note echoed, all four judges rose again, clapping above their heads. Simon said in a proud, grounded tone, "You came here honoring Elvis. But tonight, you became your own artist." That moment alone was worth every struggle. Even before results were announced, he felt like he had already won. Backstage, a flood of messages came in from record labels, TV shows, and Elvis tribute organizations wanting to work with him. But the best moment was when he video called his parents. His mother cried so hard she couldn't speak. His father simply said, "Son, you made the whole country proud." And right then, he realized he hadn't just lived his dream, he had brought his entire nation with him onto that stage.